You've heard it said over and over again that Nigeria is a country of 200 million people. Some even say we are 206 million people, and on like that. But you know what? We need to find out exactly how many we are. Don't you think so?
About time.
Yeah. So last year, the National Population Commission, NPC, announced its commencement of the enumeration area demarcation EAD in the country. With the coverage of about 460 local governments. Yeah. So while the commission is gearing up for population census in June after 5 years, so what kind of conversations should we be having now about this? What's your role in this whole conundrum, if I can use that term?
Exercise.
Okay, exercise a bit. But exercise usually connotes I have to activity, exercise. Anyway, let's just get to it. Bimbola Salah Hunde joins us this morning. She is Honorable Federal Commissioner of the National Population Commission. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. And viewers, good morning. Thank you.
Well, it's supposed to be a holiday. Why are you working today?
Well, thank you very much, sir. You said it rightly. We are gearing towards the next census. And right now, the National Population Commission is conducting the exercise known as Enumeration Area Demarcation, simply put, EAD. We work every day, that I must say, including Sundays, and I'll tell you why. The meaning of EAD is simple. It's when we divide a nation, a state, a locality, a local government into smaller portions so that when it's census time, we're able to just send a pair of enumerators there to count, and then we're able to cover every part of the country. It's not only that, the enumeration area demarcation is also building the national frame for the country. And we know that with the national frame, we'll be able to know where infrastructures should be placed, where economic activities should go, educational and all that. That is why the EAD is extremely important to any country. And this time, the National Population Commission is saying, we want to get it right. I was listening partially to the last speaker you had here, and I must say that his passion thrilled me. Of course, I knew he would be like that. But I'd like to say everything that he has said, I agree, but there is something. We need to know how many we are, like you said, who we are, and how we are. Okay. And that's talking about data, and that's what we do, and that's what we want to give to Nigeria. This is our contribution to the development of this country, supplying data that will move the nation forward. And the ground exercise, the foundation, is the enumeration area demarcation. It's actually the architectural foundation of any census. Okay. If the enumeration area demarcation is accurate, your census is likely to be accurate. Okay. And then the government can use that to have informed decisions to base their policies, legislations, and all that.
Okay. Obviously, this EAD will be dealing with smaller areas than the local government area. So how small is each? Should I call them EADs?
Yes, is each enumeration area. Yes, that's true.
How small is each one going to be?
What we do is, if we get to, like the streets now, where Channels TV is, we must enter every house, whether commercial or residential. When it's a residential building, we ask how many households are living in that building. Okay. What do we mean by household? It does not have to do with family ties. It is based on people eating from the same pot. It's about eating. It's about catering pattern. If you have in a house, you have a father, a mother, 2 young children, and the father says, okay, the 4 of us eat from the same pot. Yeah. That's one household. But I have 2 grown-up children. I mean, they're graduates, but they just live with me. But they do their cooking themselves. They eat. They're different households. If you have 6 youth couples living in the same flat, but they all cook differently, then there are 6 different households.
Hold up. Just slow down.
Okay.
It's a 1-room apartment.
Okay.
3 of us share this 1-room apartment. Each of us has our pots.
Your 3 households.
In 1-room apartment.
Yes, and then let me tell you further, sir, that apart from being 3 households, if each of you has a brother or a sister living with you, apart from the three of you just sharing, and you have a brother, a sister, an aunt living with you. By the time we want to count, because when we count households, we have sampled buildings. In those sampled buildings, we also ask you how many people are within that particular household. So if you have three of you, different ports, but you have a younger sister with you, she has a younger brother, then we count, okay, that's two houses. She has two younger sisters, they have three people. So we count, and the other man is just alone. That's 3 plus 2 plus 1, that's 6 people, that's 6 households in that house. That's 6 people in that house of 3 households. That is how it is counted. When we do that, when we get to a particular threshold, it doesn't have to be the whole street, it could be 2 streets together. There's a threshold that we've arrived at scientifically, then we round it up, it forms a polygon, and that's what we call the demarcated area. So we name it after either the street or a popular landmark. Like if we come here now, we look at Channels. Oh, Channels is known to everybody. By the time we go around and form a polygon around you and get to the number of houses we need, about 500 households, this is Channels demarcated area. That's one area, and we keep moving like that, so that during census we can just assign 2 pairs of enumerators who just come to Channels. They go to the next one, another street here, another street there, and what they do is they now, because during census we ask a lot of questions, you're aware. It's not like enumeration area that we just ask you numbers of households. During census, we enter a house, we want to talk to everybody. We want to know the school you've been to, your age, whether you, so many questions come out during census. So we don't, and you know, census is just for about 5 to 6 days, maximum 7 days. We must cover the whole nation. That's why we need to divide it into little bits now, so that we can have enough enumerators to cover during census.
What kind of my apologies? What kind of conversations should we be having to people to get their buy-in here?
Thank you
Because
so very much.
because people go to the office, and I asked you now, for instance. You're not supposed to be at work, but you're at work. Monday is a public holiday. Otherwise, many people will go to work. So if you get to this EAD today, they're all home or they are not home. But by the next time you get there, they're all not home or they're home. It's the reverse of what you met when you assigned. So how does that work?
Yeah, thank you. What we do is when we get to a household, if we don't meet them, we are allowed to ask their neighbors. But I must be honest with us here. It's never the best, especially regarding Lagos State, because Lagos is densely populated. It just doesn't have a high population.
Yeah.
It is a dense population, thick. So it's better you're there to tell us who you are. It's not your neighbor that will know how many of you. You could have people living in your house and your neighbor doesn't know how many they are. But like you rightly observe, people are at work. In Lagos State, people leave home as early as 4 a.m. They don't get back till 10 p.m. We're off the street. So we plead with people to just give us time. We won't take more than 3-5 minutes. Just tell us how many you are, the household. How many of you eat from the same pot. That's what we want to know now. We're not insisting on seeing them. Just tell us how many of you eat from the same pot. It's a pot thing now. It's a catering arrangement now we want to know. And then...
But there are many homeless people in Lagos.
That's so
How do they get counted?
We do that during census. We have a special scheme for them. We go under the bridges. There is a special scheme. We do that during census. For now, we just count the houses, and we must number your house. Even if it's a commercial premises, if you have your security guards that sleep there and they eat there, then it's another household.
Okay. We also know, from, past enumeration exercises that there are societies, there are environments that culturally they don't allow you to get into their homes. What happens in that regard? I mean, for cultural reasons or for certain practices, those things are not permitted. How do we get those figures?
Like I said earlier on, this time we're not looking at seeing you physically. We just need to know. You tell us. When it's census time, if you had lied, because during census we must see everybody physically. But now we don't have to see. We just need to know how many eat from each pot here. When it gets to a particular threshold, we round it up, and that's a polygon. When it forms a polygon, we put that. That is Channels enumerated area. We've enumerated Channels. We move on, another arepo or whatever. We do all that. During census, if you had told us you're 10, we come to your house and we must see everybody. And that's when we ask everybody questions.
No, you don't understand what I'm saying.
No.
There are those environments, they don't do, are you saying that they all have to come out to you?
No, I just said that now, that you don't have to come out during enumeration area.
But when,
about during
how about the
census?
during census?
Everybody must come out. We must count everybody because we must see everybody. Now we're even looking at having, for example, the enumeration area demarcation we're doing now is paperless. We're also leveraging on technology. We go with our PDA, the whole map, because we have a satellite imagery stored into the PDA. We work with the GIS. The whole map of Lagos State is there, and so we can know the streets we're going into, the number of houses, buildings. But of course, we recognize when we see new buildings, we're able to number them as well, because Lagos grows every day. So when we get there, and we're not asking you to bring them out now. We're only asking how many houses how many of you eat from different pots or the same pot. When it is census, you must bring them out. That's what the census
During
is.
census, for instance, Alhaji Ayo may not allow you see his harem of 10 wives inside. They're all covered up anyway, and he ain't going to bring them out, especially if your census officer is a man. What do you do in that case?
The commission is conscious of that, and I know my colleagues from the north have started educating the people there, telling them that during census this time, we must see everybody. We want to also carry out, we're talking about biometric census, but we're looking at least paperless. We want to mix technology with our census this time. Even if we're not going full biometric, which the commission has not fully decided, we're still working on it, listening to different consultants on that. What we're doing is, this time it will be almost impossible for people to lie, because we must see everybody. We must unveil. We send women to where the women are. We send the men to where the men are. We also understand and we appreciate people's differences. So we don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you must let us see you during census.
Okay. What about the issue of foreigners infiltrating and pretending to be Nigerians?
That's another one. But census counts people living in a country.
Ah, okay. Because they're living here,
that's why they are part of our population.
Okay.
To get to that, that's why we're advocating that every Nigerian must have a national population birth certificate, even before NIMSI gives you an identity card. Because we issue the foundational birth certificates, the truest and the only one that, as soon as a child is born, we give you a certificate. That's a true identity. That's a foundational identity. That's why we're saying every Nigerian must have that. We're also working towards that, and we want to leverage on technology to make sure that every Nigerian has a National Population Commission birth certificate.
But if our final figure also includes foreigners, in that case, we don't know how many we are as Nigerians.
We do, because the census, I did say now that in census we ask a lot of questions.
So you're going to be asking about their nationalities
exactly.
as well.
So when we now analyze, we're able to tell you, these are the people residents in Nigeria. If you must know, these are foreigners. It's stated in all the forms. We would have all those analyses.
So the figure will state Nigerians, 200 million.
It depends on what they want
Foreigners,
us to state.
20 million or whatever.
It's like that. That's what census stands for. Census is a demographic count. So it tells you the characteristic of everybody, the educated ones, females, males. But these are things that after we enumerate, after we have analyzed, and the government permits, then we bring out these figures. And that's why all other surveys are based on that. That's why census is called the mother of all data, because that's the data that talks about every individual in the country. There is no country that can go. There can't be true development. Even if you get the best person in this country today, without demographic data, that person cannot govern successfully well. It's impossible.
But one of the conversations that one will be wondering if you can have now is, what kind of discussions should we be having with people? Carrying people along is definitely something that we need to give a lot of attention to. How are we achieving that? How are we ensuring that we are able to give people the necessary information about getting these things done? Ultimately, that is what the challenge is.
That's true.
How are we carrying people along?
Yes, what we do is, when we get, right now, we've done a few local governments. We've done Mushi, we've done Bariga. I don't want to take us back, but we are right now in Ekpe and Tibejuleki. The first thing we do when we get there is to visit the elders, the leaders, the local government chairman, the KBACs there, the market women, the CDAs, the faith-based organizations, and now we're looking at even talking to professional organizations, because seriously, I've even discovered that the elites themselves don't even understand what EAD means. I didn't know till I became a commissioner in the commission. I knew about census, but not the EAD. And this is the architectural foundation of the census. So people need to understand it. So we go on for this grassroots sensitization. That's what we do nowadays. And I must be honest with you, we still need to create more awareness, because you know that awareness leads to positive action. When people are aware, they understand what you're doing, then they're able to give you the right information and they cooperate with you. So we're pleading, and that's why we're so grateful to channels and stations that have accommodated us, that people will listen to us and know that when we get to you, please give us time. Just tell us the numbers of households you have in there so that we record it. And then when it's time for census, we'll be able to count everybody.
Well, you just kind of referenced the fact that you have certain pushbacks, from those who do not know about what this whole thing is. What kind of pushback do you get?
One, you get to some people's homes, they don't even want to listen to you. They think you're asking these questions for tax purposes.
Don't blame them.
Some think you want to come back and demolish the houses, especially when they feel probably they're not in a very... Some just think you're wasting their time. We've been to a community and they had said to us, look, you counted us so time 16 years ago. What did you do with it? We're not too interested. We need to explain to people, we need to let them know this is the greatest opportunity Nigeria can have to put its data right. When we have the accurate data, it is for governance, good governance. It is also for accountability. Because then I will know that, okay, only 10 people live in China's local government. Why do you want to put 100 schools in the budget? Then I know you're lying. If I know only 10 people live here and there are 6 students, then shouldn't have more than 6 schools. That's what data does for us. Data is a mirror. It's an eye-opener. And that's what we're trying to garner now by conducting this exercise. So, but people still don't understand the essence. It's for better life of every Nigerian. It's for the future of our children. It's for us to have a national frame to stand upon, know where infrastructure should go, where it shouldn't go, how many kilometers of road should be built, how many schools should we have, hospitals, and all that. We need to really have grassroots sensitization, and we do that. But I must be honest, in Lagos State, it's been very tough because we have a lot of people. But we're trying, we have jingles, we're looking at adverts.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
I was just going to say, I haven't heard any campaign.
Oh, we have on, I don't want to do an advert, but we have on radio traffic that we know is quite popular with everybody, and a few radio stations, and we're also talking to channels, although you're quite pricey, and
Oh yeah, we are. I mean, there's a reason for that. One of the questions that also comes to my mind.
Oh yes, I agree.
Now, one of the questions that also comes to my mind is, of course, you talked about, the importance of data and all of that, but there are 2 catchments that we don't seem to give due regard in many of the things that we do. One is gender, the other is the youths. How do you see this exercise, prioritizing attention where need be to these categories of people? Don't forget that we have had policies all over the world that say at a particular percentage of women, for instance, 35 or thereabout, should be in government. What we have now is not near that. How is this data gathering you're doing likely to help in achieving such targets?
Thank you. When we gather this data and we analyze, and by the grace of God we have the census, then we are able to understand the full characteristics of every person living on the soil of Nigeria, state by state, local government by local. In that case, you can pick it up and say, look, if we have, let us assume the next census, we get the same 200 million for purposes of argument. And then out of the 200 million, we have about 100 million women. And then maybe another 100 youths, or maybe you have 50 women, 70 youths, because our demographic, it's kind of high. Then it is easy for us and for the government to look at what we have done and have informed decisions to say, okay, if I have also women, then we must begin to empower these women because they form this chunk of the population. We're talking about development through data. We're talking about empirical data. That's the only way a nation develops. It is not by guesswork. For example, if we know that Nigeria has, like now we have a youth bulge, we're able to present it through data. That is evidence. But then why would any government not invest in those youths? then it is important. Then the youths are able to also say, look at the data, see how many we are, this is power. Then we want this, we want that. It is with data that we can move forward and even put the government where it should be, even though I am part of it. You know what I mean? Because then you can tell me, you have told us in social local government, 10 children were born, then we must have 10 schools. Why is your budget talking of only 2 schools? Then we'll be able to know that, okay, after 6 years, these children are going to go to secondary school. Then how many secondary schools are you planning to build before the 6 years so that all the 6 children can be there? Then after that, tertiary institutions or vocational institutions. And then we look at it and say, our young girls, how many of them are in school? All surveys carried out in any nation is based on enumeration area demarcation survey. It is a mother. That's what the base is. That's why we call it the national frame of a country. So it's what leads to development of that country. It is the information we're getting now that the government and private sector or whoever wants to work with it will use to make the lives of Nigerians better, to give us modern livability that we all seek.
Okay. Okay. Now, you've talked about, many of these things, and I'm just wondering in my heart right now, a good number of people would also be wondering, we have had census exercises in the country that never saw
What is the plural of census? Censi? Censuses?
Yes, censuses.
We've had some in the country that haven't, that they never really, saw the light of day. I'm going to have to pick that up, we remember, for instance, 1 or 2 military governments had such exercises that they were botched, for one reason or the other. Definitely, humongous resources are deployed to achieve that. Now, we are going into the same space now. We've had one, at least, that I remember, in this Fourth Republic. And
2006.
Exactly, and we still seem to be undulating around whether or not it is, verifiable and all of that. So what is it that we need to do to ensure that we do not retrogress, that will make this exercise empirical, so that people will not say, this is another exercise that government just wants to make money. For instance, we understand that the EAD alone is going to cost Nigeria 10 billion naira from, from early last year, so as we gathered. So how do we ensure that we don't go back? What are the things that you think may have been responsible for the failures of previous exercises, and how do we, avoid them?
Thank you very much. First, I must say the EAD costs more than that. We had said that, yes, because it's actually the architectural frame. It's so important. First, I'll talk from the perspectives of the citizens. All of us are citizens. We must cooperate with the National Population Commission. We must be willing to give information. We've also discovered that maybe it's only Yoruba land, I don't know. You ask them how many children. Say, I can come off on Lomo. Nobody says that again. If you don't tell me how many children, how do I put that down? Because data gathering is information gathering. If you don't tell me, I cannot put it down. And the government cannot work with it.
You're probably going to have to talk to some traditional rulers, because they are the ones that are, they are the, what do we call them, the purveyors of these,
exactly.
of the cultures.
We do
and
that.
all
That's
of
why
that,
everywhere you would see us with the traditional rulers. We always do that. But like I said, I think because Lagos is really massive, you still talk to them, you talk to the CDAs, the market women, everybody, and you still go back and talk to them, and they're like, what are you doing? You want to come and tax us? You want to pull down our houses? And I'm like, this is not what we are for. This is for your own good.
If you are getting this kind of quote-unquote pushback from Lagos, and I'm pretty sure you're having meetings with your colleagues from other parts of the country, is it similar?
It is. It is. That's the problem with Nigeria. You see, you talked about the 2006 census. Yeah. What we think happened is what we're trying to correct. One, that was a paper census. So a lot of things probably could have gone wrong. Now we are conducting a full technology-based census. Like I did say, even the enumeration area demarcation, we're using our PDAs. It's satellite imagery with the GIS. The whole of Lagos State is in there. Every nook and cranny of Lagos State is. We have the 0.5 satellite image resolution is the highest you can get now, and that's what we are using. But like I said, it's not with our technology this time, it's more with our people. I must also be honest, some are really understanding. Like, we finished Ikorodu a few weeks ago. In 2006, when we had Ikorodu, the enumeration areas we had was very low. And, you know, they also went to court in Lagos State. But this time, they stood up to it. The leaders came, and we had a lot of grassroots sensitization, and people actually cooperated with us in Ikorodu, and a few other local governments. Of course, there are some local governments that the people still don't understand what you're doing. Now we are going to Etiosa local government. One of the biggest problems we have in Lagos State is the gated estates. They are all big men and big women. In Lekki, Ibeju Lekki, I was with the leaders. One of them had worked at the presidency, one member of the House of Representatives, and we were there. We all stood outside for over an hour in the sun. The gate men said, they said we cannot open gates. And we had been there earlier on. My staff had been there. We had told them we're coming for this, and they wouldn't. The general said they shouldn't open gates. So when it takes you 1 hour in front of a gated estate, we are human beings. We are standing in the sun. By the time you enter, you are tired too. Let's be honest. So the information too, you get a CB.
Okay.
Well,
how much would a proper register or registry of births and deaths help you to extrapolate after the census?
Fantastic. You know that birth registration benchmarks census results. And that's why we make birth registration free in Nigeria. Unfortunately, even though it is free, we've not registered up to 40%.
Interesting.
That's true.
Well,
I'm sure you don't have a national birth certificate. None of you has.
I have my birth
have
certificate,
mine.
even though it is
It's not
young.
national population commission.
No.
I don't know what is on it, but I have.
I have an original birth
Yes.
certificate.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
For us to put it in our data,
Yeah.
you need to come back to us. We'll attest to your birth certificate, and then you're stored in our data that this is a birth certificate issued from National
I
Population.
have to come.
Yes.
So where do we go?
Any of the National Population Commission offices in Lagos State.
Okay.
We are in every local government.
This conversation is just starting.
Yes.
I have to let you know that it's just starting, but we're gonna have to take it further, because just as you said, so many people don't even know what the holy are you guys doing. But for now, we have to thank you for being a part of our conversation this morning. Bimbola Salah Hunde is Honorable Federal Commissioner, National Population Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back in a moment for
The home stretch.
okay. That's it.